Welcome to Workshop Therapy, the podcast where we explore how making and creativity help create a more balanced life. I'm your host, Andrew, and in today's episode, I'll be talking about how building a time margin into projects, work, and day-to-day activities can safeguard you from burnout. So in our fast-paced world, it is easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle, constantly juggling multiple responsibilities. But this constant rush can take a toll on our mental and emotional and physical well-being. So what exactly is time margin? It's the intentional allocation of extra time around our tasks, commitments, and obligations, allowing us to manage unexpected situations and reducing the risk of feeling overwhelmed. Essentially, it's about slowing down to speed up. Who doesn't want to accomplish more by doing less? Especially those of us who are balancing work, family, and a desire to get out into the shop or the studio and create something beautiful. Before we delve into the benefits of creating a time margin, let's understand burnout a little bit better. Burnout is a state of chronic stress that results from feeling emotionally and physically exhausted, detached, and unproductive. It can affect anyone, from students and professionals to creators and makers. No one is immune from the potential of burnout. When we're constantly pushing ourselves to the limit without any breathing space, burnout can quickly creep in. The quality of our work, relationships, and even our overall happiness can suffer as a result. Most of us can picture a time when we were using a drill and pushing it to its limit. The drill gets hot, and if you keep pushing it, it can burn out and fail. Some of us have even had the experience of pushing a tool a little too far and damaging it so it just doesn't have the power it used to. That's what burnout is, and the longer we are being pushed to the limit, the more debilitating the burnout becomes. So what do we do about it? How do we combat burnout? One strategy is creating and enforcing a time margin. Building in a time margin can serve as a protective shield against burnout. Many of us are familiar with margins when selling a product. We add 30 or 40% margin money to account for unexpected mistakes, tool failures, forgotten materials, or an extra trip to the Home Depot. We can give ourselves that same margin for mistakes with our time. What are some of these benefits? It helps reduce stress. When we have extra time cushioned into our schedules, we can handle unexpected challenges and setbacks with more ease. This helps reduce stress levels and prevents the feeling of being overwhelmed. It fosters creativity. Allowing ourselves to breathe and have unstructured moments can lead to increased creativity. When our minds have room to wander and explore, we often stumble into innovative solutions and ideas, new designs. We overcome mistakes by creating a mistake into a design feature. It helps improve decision-making. Rushing through decisions can lead to mistakes. We've all had that experience where you just wanted to get it done and you end up screwing up and taking more time as a result. With a time margin, we can take a step back, carefully consider our options, and make a better choice. It enhances our focus and productivity. Counterintuitive as it may seem, taking breaks and incorporating downtime can boost our focus and productivity when we return to our tasks. It's like allowing the hot drill to cool down before pushing it to failure. After all, what takes more time, waiting for 5 minutes for the drill to cool down or spending an hour running to buy a new drill? Hey, I just wanted to interject here to say a couple things about supporting the podcast. If you really want to support the podcast, I'd love it if you'd hop over to Patreon and check it out. Top-tier patrons have access to one-on-one coaching sessions for physical and mental health and wellness at a fraction of the price I charge in my regular practice for the exact same services. As a special sign of my appreciation for the first 5 patrons who sign up at any level, they will receive a shout-out as founding members for the rest of the existence of the podcast, even if they choose to stop supporting at some point. If you don't want to support the podcast financially, I completely understand. Sharing the show, and more especially sharing the information from the show, is a great way to show support. Don't forget to tag me in any post you share. Thanks for listening. Now back to the show. Adding a time margin doesn't mean we become less productive. It means we become more intentional with our time. Here's some practical tips to help you incorporate a time margin into your life. Number 1, set realistic expectations. Be honest with yourself about what you can realistically accomplish in a given time frame. Avoid overloading your schedule with too many things. Avoid planning on getting too much done in the shop in one shot. You're probably not going to do it, and you'll end up feeling stressed. Number 2, prioritize self-care. Make time for activities that nourish your body and mind, such as exercise, meditation, or spending time with your loved ones. Even spending time in the shop as a hobby or as creativity can be one of those prioritized self-care, but you have to make the time to do it. Remember that you don't find the time for the things you want to do. You have to create the time. Learn to say no. Don't be afraid to decline additional commitments if your plate's already full. Setting boundaries is crucial for maintaining a time margin. We often get trapped by the idea that if we don't say yes, we'll lose an opportunity or we'll offend the person who is asking. The reality is most people will respect you for saying no and will often even give you the opportunity to do the same thing on your own schedule. Fourth, Plan some buffer time. When planning out a project, add a buffer time before and after to accommodate for potential delays. When you have additional time planned into a project, the worst outcome is that you complete the project on the scheduled time, and the best outcome is you're done early and have extra time to use for something else. Whether it's a client project or a personal one, how great does it feel to deliver on something early? Unplug regularly. Take breaks from technology and constant connectivity. Stop doom scrolling, basically. Allow yourself to be fully present in the moment without distractions. Not only is this a good thing for your mental health, but it's also a good thing for shop safety. Focusing on what you're doing prevents accidents. Of course, you should always focus on listening to this podcast. Incorporating a time margin into our lives is not just about preventing burnout, it's about reclaiming our sense of balance and purpose. By making room for the unexpected nurturing of our well-being, we create a foundation for sustainable success and happiness. Remember, it's okay to slow down and give yourself the luxury of a little extra time. Let's prioritize self-care, build a life where burnout becomes a thing of the past. Thank you for joining us on the Workshop Therapy Podcast. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and share it with others who you feel might benefit from these insights. What's one thing you learned from today's podcast that you can implement into your daily routine? If this was helpful for you and you want to reinforce it in your mind, start by sharing that thing you learned with someone you know. That produces a sense of action and accountability in yourself, as well as a sense of fulfillment as you help others be a little better each day. Thanks for listening.